Hey, what's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today is day 3 in exploring Master Classic, and I've got a different team shown here with Snorlax, Shadow Ball Mewtwo, and Ho-Oh as the closer. You can see no Dialga on this team, right? This team was featured on Oxford Youth channel, so I'm going to try my best to link it up here. And if that doesn't work, I'll put it in the description instead. This team was piloted by a trainer named Tangyan Sweet, who is a perennial leaderboard player, very talented trainer. I believe he broke the 3400s last season, and part of that climb was actually using a team, or using this exact team that you see here. So very interesting concept. You have the Snorlax, which is not really used that much in Master Classic, but it does wall Giratina Origin, which is a pretty crucial matchup. And what you're doing here is you're baiting out the Giratina Origin with the Shadow Ball Mewtwo, where you can really take shield advantage at the very least before you go down to have Snorlax come in and generate a ton of energy. So there's definitely going to be some superpower and swap shenanigans, and then backed up with the Ho-Oh, and Ho-Oh with shields in the end game when the opponent is down shields. Absolutely devastating. Really enjoyed playing this Pokemon. Actually, it might be one of my favorites right now to play in the Master Classic. So before we get into the video, I will go over the IVs. My Snorlax is a perfect Snorlax, so thank you GoFest for providing that for me. It is a regular Snorlax. I'm not sure how Shadow would function in this team, but I did see a normal Snorlax in the video, so I just went with that. And it's running Lick, Superpower, and Body Slam, kind of a standard moveset right now for Master League. You probably could roll with Earthquake. I think Earthquake has some merits, especially against Giratina Altered Form. But you know, we'll kind of stay faithful to the original team composition. The Mewtwo is unfortunately a 14 attack, but as you can see, it's shiny, so really couldn't pass up powering that up. But besides that, I think the HP is not so important. 15 defense is great, and because you're coming in a safe swap position, you're probably not going to be on any kind of even shield scenario, so CMP might not be a huge factor. But if you do have one, I do suggest a 15 attack one. And then of course the Ho-Oh here being 15, 15, 13. You do need 15 attack. I think the only significant breakpoint that I saw during my research was actually ironically against Snorlax. So your Incinerates will deal a little bit more damage with that 15 attack versus I believe a 13 attack. So if you have a Ho-Oh that's available, I still think it's going to be quite good. I was actually thinking about powering up a 12, 15, 15 to use in this team before I got this one in a better lucky trade. So, and yeah, I did not play these battles tonight, so by the time this video goes up, it's probably going to be Thursday. I didn't know about this whole switch timer 5-day shenanigans thing that Niantic was doing. So these were actually taken from the first day of Master Classic, where I was trying out a bunch of different teams. But again, this is a pretty cool set to play, and it does showcase a little bit more green gameplay for me. But once again, great way to figure out the format. This one, of course, without the Dialga. So I know there's been some requests to see content without Dialga. Let's try to get into some of those team compositions as we move on during the week. So let's go ahead and get into the battles. Alright, so getting into the first battle of the set, I'm going to be going up against Very. And I'm going to be leading Snorlax into a Giratina Origin. So if you're wondering, like I said in the intro, this is the dream matchup for this team. Unless Giratina Origin is carrying Dragon Pulse, there is no possible way that it can beat Snorlax without getting licked completely down and coming out with 100 energy. So I don't even think it gets Snorlax into the yellow, if I remember correctly, in this matchup. So I know as long as I can retain that switch advantage here, I'm going to be completely fine. And my opponent brings in the Dialga. So with Giratina Origin lead and a Dialga in the back, I know that my Ho-Oh is going to have a fantastic time here. So I just need to build up for a superpower here and then swap to my Ho-Oh. And I know here superpower takes a little bit over 6.5 seconds, so gonna throw the superpower in dip and bring in my Ho-Oh. So here my opponent probably has to shield here. He doesn't know what's coming in, right? If it's my own Dialga, then I've guaranteed switch advantage. And I'm going to bring in my Ho-Oh. And my goal is to just get to an Earthquake here, because now my opponent is going to be down 2 shields at the very minimum. And my opponent here throws, he's got plenty of energy though. So that's one thing about building up to that superpower. You do need to respect any kind of potential nukes, but it's just an Iron Head. And I'm going to throw one more Incinerate, gets that 100 energy, throw the Earthquake, and we'll see if my opponent shields here. Now, if you're the Dialga in the situation, you're in a really tough spot because you kind of have to win switch, but you also know that you can't win. So my opponent actually just lets that go, and he's going to bring back the Giratina Origin. So you need to get as much use out of the Giratina Origin as you possibly can before it goes down. And here in this position, I'm going to farm up a couple of Incinerates, but then I'm going to throw the Brave Bird. So Brave Bird does a ton of damage. I do believe that Ho-Oh statistically is the best Brave Bird user. This is going to give my opponent less farm. He still has to throw because I'm going to get to another move here, and then my opponent brings in the last Pokemon in his lineup, which is actually Mewtwo. So you can see my opponent here was not equipped for a Snorlax and Ho-Oh combo, and here I know I can bring in my own Mewtwo. Although his does have higher attack, my opponent sees the writing on the wall and actually just concedes, because in this particular situation, if I bring in my Mewtwo, I just need to shield once, and then one Shadow Ball from a Mewtwo to another, that's going to be a one-hit KO pretty much. So GG's to my opponent there. Unfortunately, he just got hard countered. There's not a whole lot you can do, but you can see already the power of Snorlax when you can catch that Giratina Origin. You know, basically, if Giratina Origin is anywhere in the team composition, even if they win switch advantage, and your Snorlax can get lined up against it, it's still gonna be a super rough time, and that's gonna be creating a ton of value. Okay, getting into our second match, we're gonna be going up against Go Slowbro 1126, and we'll be leading a Snorlax into a Dialga. So unfortunately, in this case, the team really wants to see the Dialga in the back against Ho-Oh. So Snorlax doesn't have a good matchup. Mewtwo has an okay matchup if you use some shields. Side-Strike actually chunks in that matchup. So, but Ho-Oh is the one that you really want to line up with Dialga in the very end. So here, my opponent is going to start, and he's going to stay in with Dialga, of course. I'm going to go for the superpower here. I don't know if this is the right call, and maybe some Master Classic experts can let me know if that's the right line to play. But my thinking here is if I can chunk here with the superpower, then I can bring in Mewtwo, and Mewtwo gains energy so quickly, I'm going to be able to outpace the Dialga to all of its charge moves. So here, I actually get to the Side Strike, and my opponent decides to throw on what I think is about 11.5 or 12. So here, I do actually have to respect the Draco Meteor. Mewtwo can survive an Iron Head, but it's probably still not the best choice. And my opponent actually goes to the Draco. So he's energy dry, and then I'm expecting to swap out. He brings in the Groudon. So kind of an interesting situation here, and I know I can just spam out these Side Strikes, because these Side Strikes are definitely going to hurt Groudon. Groudon has a negative matchup, but is up a shield in this case. So, and I know that in 3 more Mud Shots, the Groudon is going to be able to reach a charge move where I'm going to have to make a decision. So. And he does shield the second Side Strike, and then 3 more fast moves later, he's going to throw energy. So I have to make a decision here, and I don't know if it's correct, but my feeling here was I already have like a almost dead Dialga. I have an almost KO'd Groudon that I'm going to be able to farm down with Ho-Oh. So I kind of make a choice here not to shield, and I'm hoping that he's just going to Fire Punch bait me, because then that would put even more pressure on. But opponent makes the right read here, and you're going to see here he throws the nuke directly, and it does knock me out. Now, I'm going to come in with the Ho-Oh here, because Snorlax is not going to be able to lift down this Groudon in time. So my only hope here is that I get a ton of energy on the Ho-Oh, and I'm going to be able to threaten whatever Pokemon is in the back. So not the best spot for me, but I am in a favorable farm down position where Ho-Oh with energy can be very deadly. So here I'm just going to farm all the way down. My opponent throws the charge move here. I'm thinking this is only 2 Incinerates, so if he did use the Earthquake, it's probably going to be just a Fire Punch, and it is. No reason to shield Ho-Oh anyways in this situation. And I'm going to be able to get 4 Incinerates, or he's going to catch the 4th Incinerator on Dialga, and I get really greedy here. So if you see here, like, this opponent here, I probably could have just gone to my Snorlax and absorbed all this energy, but instead I decided to get greedy and farm down to 100 energy. And these Incinerates, these extra Incinerates, they're actually bringing me any value. So I should have just either thrown energy, or I should have just swapped my Snorlax, and I make a huge mistake here. So you're going to see here, my opponent actually gets to a charge move, and because it's only 3 Incinerates, I know this is Iron Head, but it puts me in a very awkward position, because I still don't know what's in the back, right? Like, if it's a Kyogre or something, I could just get fast moved down my Ho-Oh before I get any value out of it. So I'm going to let this go, though. I have to retain the shield, right, and stick on the plan, and it is Iron Head. It does resist it, but still puts me into the red. So now we're going to see what my opponent's last Pokemon is. Actually, no, he's got a Groudon with a Fire Punch. This is even worse. And here I'm thinking, like, I really don't know what to do here, because I'm really afraid, and I just got to go very, very low. Now, this is the unfortunate part. And it's probably the main misplay that I make here. Had I just thrown the energy on the Dialga, I could have taken another charge move from this Groudon, because I knew it wasn't going to be an Earthquake. But right now, I'm in farm down range for just about anything. So gonna see his last Pokemon, and it actually surprises me a little bit, because I see that it's a Shadow Mewtwo, and at this point the game is pretty much over. There is no combination of moves that's gonna let me get to 3, and I make an even bigger mistake there. I should have Brave Birded and then swapped out with Ho-Oh, because those Shadow Psycho Cuts coming out from Mewtwo are just gonna actually obliterate me. And I didn't think about that at the moment, so I actually choose to let this charge move go. It's gonna be brutal. One Shadow Side Strike almost, you can see right there, almost does, I think almost does 50% of Snorlax's health from that position. And although I get to the Body Slam, my opponent's already made 3 more Psycho Cuts. And at this point, this Body Slam's not going to KO. So my opponent smartly lets it go. And then, unfortunately, even if we have a shield, we're never going to get to use it because I've got to go for the Earthquake here. I can't even get to another Brave Bird in time because I'm going to be debuffed and I'm going to lose this game because I got a little bit too greedy and I misread the situation. And I barely get to the Brave Bird right there, but I actually get to it the same turn as he's able to Psycho Strike or Psycho Cut me down. So a little bit unfortunate there. I definitely misplayed the situation. I had a ton of energy, a ton of advantage, and that game was within striking distance for me to win, and I just kind of threw that one away. So GG's to my opponent right there. That was some cool. That's a cool team. You can see 4160 Mewtwo, almost there, man. Very high IVs, and definitely a very expensive Pokemon to make. So very cool to see. Going into our third match, we're going up against Fluffy Dinosaur. Very nice name right there. And gonna be taking Snorlax into a Togekiss lead. So this is probably one of the trickier leads that I expect to see, mainly because I know that Togekiss usually loves having some kind of Melmetal counter in the back. But if you look at the team here, having the Mewtwo take down the Togekiss, you're gonna get a lot of charm damage sustained. So I didn't know if that was gonna be the best switch in. So I actually decided to stay in here in the opening matchup. And kind of the reasoning for this is I know that Snorlax can actually win this matchup. I believe in the one shield. So I'm just gonna go straight for Body Slams here. And it's kind of good that eliminating this Togekiss does kind of free up my Mewtwo a little bit to charge energy freely. And I can't swap in the Ho-Oh, of course, because they're definitely going to have a counter directly for that. So here my opponent throws, and been counting, so it is 8 charms, and I'm expecting either Ancient Power or Aerial Ace. I'm a little bit afraid of Aerial Ace because I do believe if he Aerial Aces, I don't think I could get to another Body Slam after throwing this. So I'm going to choose the shield here. And it is the Aerial Ace. So decent call over here, and we actually have a fake CMP tie right there, but he doesn't sneak the charm through, which is great for me. And now I know that even if my opponent shields here, the aggregate lick damage and the Body Slam is going to be able to win us the one shield. So this is feeling in a pretty good spot right here, and being able to win switch advantage, of course, very big for both Mewtwo and Ho-Oh to an extent. So I'm going to throw the Body Slam here. And my opponent chooses not to shield, which means I can look all the way down and get a little bit of energy. And we're going to see what my opponent chooses to bring in. So he brings in a Kyogre, also shiny actually. So wanted to point out he had a shiny Togekiss and a shiny Kyogre. So very cool collection right there. Going to be able to reach another Body Slam before this goes down. And I know that I just have to align my Mewtwo over here. Obviously can't bring in the Ho-Oh. So good thing that we did win switch advantage. If we didn't, we would have been in a really bad spot. So bring in the Mewtwo here. And I know that one surf is not going to KO, and I know that at this particular rate, I should be able to get to a Side Strike and shield his next surf, so there's probably no reason for him to stay in at this point. So I'm going to farm a little bit, and my intention was to CMP tie on the second surf, but my opponent switches into Dialga. So team makes sense, right? It's the reverse Lolosox lineup of where Lolosox usually leads the Kyogre, but we're leading the Togekiss instead. And I have a pretty decent matchup here. Gonna try to throw the Earthquake, and I just have to respect a Thunder or a Draco Meteor from this Dialga, and that's probably his only win condition right now. So as I get to the 4th Incinerate, so after 4 Incinerates and that little bit of energy lead that Dialga gets to can potentially be a Thunder or a Draco Meteor, so I'm gonna have to expend a shield here, but I know that I can get to Earthquake, and then I'm only gonna be, I believe, 2 Incinerates away from the second Earthquake, so not a big deal if I have to do it this way. One of the reasons Ho-Oh is so strong is because in that one shield you do outpace Dialga, and it is the Draco. So I actually fire the Earthquake here and get to 100 energy, get to the 5th Incinerate, and I'm going to undercharge a little bit because I kind of want to farm down, and I don't want the Kyogre to farm me down because I've already used the shield. My opponent actually chooses to use a shield, which is very strange, and now I'm going to go for the Earthquake, and I think I tried to undercharge it here to like a great, but yeah. It's gonna one-shot this Dialga. And gonna try to make it to the Brave Bird here, but unfortunately, because I threw 2 Earthquakes, it's gonna take 3 more Incinerates to the next Brave Bird. However, Mewtwo does win CMP, even at 14 attack, and I've got the Shadow Ball ready. Should be able to KO this Kyogre and end the game. So GG's my opponent right there. Obviously, both of us did not know the respective backlines, so had he actually chosen to farm down all the way with Togekiss, I would have been in a really, really bad spot right there because we would have had an opposite alignment right there. So GG's. Alright, going into our 4th battle of the set, I'm going up against Simbus. A little bit of loading screen action over here, and I'm going to be going Snorlax into the mirror. So this is very interesting. I actually thought for a second here, I wasn't sure if they had the exact same line that I have because you rarely see a Snorlax lead. And I'm going to play this the same way that I like to play the Snorlax matchup in Premier. We're obviously both going to be charging up, and it's kind of a situation on who wants to throw the first superpower, and that's going to dictate what happens for the rest of the match. So obviously you're going to be charging up a bunch of energy at the beginning, so I'm going to wait for my opponent to throw first. My goal is if I can get him to throw a superpower first, then I can throw back-to-back superpowers and start to threaten shields. So here, I'm also going to go for the superpower. We're at 100 energy right now at this point, so I'm going to take a chunk, and I was actually thinking about it, and I was thinking, well, if he has if he potentially has a Giratina Origin in the back, and this is not the mirror line, then I kind of want to dip first. So here, my opponent, we're going to CMP again, and I'm like, please superpower me so I can get some shields. And it winds up being another body slam. So here I'm like, okay, I'm in striking range. I hope that he thinks that this is a body slam and doesn't shield, and I'm going to be the first one to strike. Now, my goal here is, because my opponent threw first and I got the superpower off, I'm going to throw a body slam right afterwards because he's going to potentially think that this is going to be another superpower, and I'm going to throw the body slam here, hoping to get the shield. And he no shields. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is really bad. So at this point, because that was not a CMP tie, I'm just actually going to build my Mewtwo, hoping to catch the superpower. And as soon as I do, my opponent throws here, kind of hoping that this is one, because it will force a swap out and waste a ton of energy at the same time, and it is. So catching the superpower, pretty good for me, and my opponent brings in a Dialga. So at this point, it's still kind of unclear what my opponent has in the back, so I'm going to charge up to a fake Focus Blast and threaten the nuke. So my opponent, he would be really brave to not call this potential bait here. So I do get a shield out of my opponent, and at this point I know that if I can get this lured out and I can bring my Ho-Oh in to go up against this Dialga, then I'll be in a really good spot. So I am going to go for another Side Strike. And I don't expect a shield from my opponent in this situation. So in a pretty good spot here, because even if he does KO the Mewtwo, I'm going to go for the third Side Strike, and my opponent throws right before I get there. Now, I did actually consider shielding in this situation. I wasn't really sure if I should or not, but in my opinion, because the Dialga is going to use some energy here, I'd rather get the energy lead on Ho-Oh first and then see what happens. So I'm just gonna let this go. I know I'm like one cycle cut away actually, so I could actually not overtap and I could reach the third Side Strike, but yeah, it's okay. Got a Snorlax in the back, still got a full health Ho-Oh with 2 shields, and I'm gonna come in and start incinerating down. So my goal here is to try to get to a move here, but my opponent throws, and because there's been so much energy being farmed right now, you gotta think, like, I farmed up to 3 Side Strikes, right? When the Dialga came in, I have to call for the nuke here, so either Thunder or Draco Meteor. So I do decide to use my first shield, and my opponent does throw the Draco Meteor here. So yeah, good, really nice shield right there. That could have been really bad, and my opponent swaps in like something else that's ground and steel, and I see it's an Excadrill. So very happy to see a fellow Excadrill enthusiast. This one's also a hundo, so that's very cool. And unfortunately for my opponent here, because I knew the Excadrill matchup already, Excadrill can only survive 5 Incinerates. So that's the one thing. So like if I don't want to spend a shield in this matchup, I pretty much, like, I'm thinking about sacking my Snorlax right now, but I know that I can incinerate down this Excadrill. That's how bad the matchup is. So here I'm gonna bring in my Snorlax. I'm gonna catch the Rock Slide here, and at this point I know that if this Excadrill expends the energy, even if he decides to try to throw another charge move here, you can see the lick damage. I mean, even for Excadrill, it's very, very squishy. So try to get the superpower here. Probably should just throw the move right there, but he does get to the move, and I'm going to let this go. Now I know that this Excadrill is not going to be able to reach another charge move in time, so I'm going to come in, I'm going to throw the Earthquake. Now this is a little risky of a situation, but all of his Pokemon are very low, so definitely expecting the last shield to go here. My opponent does shield, And yeah, sadly, if you've researched this matchup, you do not hit that charge move right there. So unfortunate for my opponent. Now he's going to bring in the Dialga, and I just know that I don't even have to Earthquake at this point. It's low enough for a Brave Bird to KO. And because the Snorlax was actually very low from the initial superpower shenanigans that we've had, I know that I can just reach another Brave Bird, and that's going to be the end of the game. So very cool to see another Excadrill player inside of Master Classic. Always really happy to see that somebody's trying it out. It is a very deadly Pokemon in the back, so I can definitely see how this team comp kind of operates and works out. But yeah, GG's to my opponent right there. Got a little bit lucky there with the back line. Ho-Oh is very, very strong against Excadrill, even if the typing would suggest, or the moveset would suggest that Excadrill can have a good time. There's just no way. It's way too fast. And the last match of the evening after an app crash is against J-Sai Bot. And we're going to be leading Snorlax into Dialga. So once again, a pretty bad matchup. And now I decided to play a little bit differently after thinking about the previous match. I'm going to go straight into my Mewtwo and build up to a fake Focus Blast. So my opponent isn't swapping out. So I'm guessing that there are things that are weak to Mewtwo in the back. And right when we hit 9 Psycho Cuts, my opponent is going to throw. This is definitely going to be an Iron Head, but I do need to shield. And my opponent does expend the energy here, so I'm going to go for that fake Focus Blast here. And I'm expecting my opponent to shield here to respect the nuke. And that would be great in this scenario just to get some shields down, but my opponent doesn't shield here. Now, the cool thing about it is, even if your opponent doesn't shield the Focus Blast, you can still reach 2 more Side Strikes before he gets to another Iron Head. So here, I'm just going to go and throw the Side Strike again. My opponent here has to shield to keep his Dialga alive, and I'm going to be able to get back-to-back off. I actually see I have a little bit more health, so I think I overcharge a little bit more and go for the Shadow Ball. Probably an unnecessary move and a little bit of a risky one, but just because I haven't had enough practice, I wasn't sure if that Side Strike was truly going to KO or not, and my opponent decides to farm me all the way down. So at this point, it's an interesting situation because while I still have the shield advantage, I've given my opponent the switch advantage, and I still have 2 full health Pokemon. So the play obviously is going to be to bring in Ho-Oh and farm all the way down, and I'm going to try to get a massive energy lead to see what he has in the back. So waiting the switch timer down, bringing in the Ho-Oh. And my opponent's going to throw, and here definitely have to respect the move here because he farmed way past the additional Side Strike and a half, so it is the Thunder. That's a great call, and I'm going to be able to farm all the way down. Now my opponent is going to throw after the 3rd Incinerate here right before he goes down. And here I have no shields. I'm praying that this is not another Thunder, but I don't think it is. It's going to be 8.5 seconds to Iron Head, and does end up being an Iron Head, but I am pretty low for Ho-Oh. Now, I've got a loaded Ho-Oh against the rest of the world, so there's definitely going to be at least one Pokemon that's weak to Ho-Oh in the back, and no matter what comes in, right, it's gonna have to eat a Brave Bird or an Earthquake. So I'm going to take a look at the top left of the screen. It's actually going to be a Kyogre, so very bad situation. Waterfall sneaks through as well, but I'm going to throw the Brave Bird here in order to get this Kyogre in a manageable health for my Snorlax, and I swap in, and my opponent does 2 more Waterfalls and swaps out. Now, this is where I think my opponent made a pretty critical error here. Kyogre actually wins CMP against Ho-Oh, so if I were the opponent there, I probably would have just farmed up to a Surf and banked it and then swapped out, because in this situation, in the 0 shield, because I have this energy lead, even with that Waterfall damage ticking, the Togekiss can come in and eliminate me, but you risk the Togekiss getting farmed down to get Brave Birded again, right? So you do need to have that charge move on Kyogre before you dip out of that matchup. And because I know this, and I know the Kyogre doesn't have a move, I don't need to win this matchup. I just need to make sure the Togekiss expends its energy in this matchup. So, and it has to in order to take out my Snorlax. So, gonna go for the body slams here, expecting my opponent to hit a charge move very soon. Actually let a charm through that there, so bad mechanics on my part there. But you need 3 body slams to be able to take down this Togekiss, and unfortunately for me, I believe he's gonna throw right here. And yeah, we actually, I think that was a fake CMP right there, so he had the move queued up. and he's going to throw the flamethrower actually. So kind of made a mistake right there. We're still locked in, right? So my Ho-Oh comes in. I don't have to fear any charge moves right now, and as the Kyogre comes back in, I've got energy for another Brave Bird, and that's going to end the game. So yeah, if I were the opponent there, I think I definitely could have lost right there if he had just banked the Surf. I believe Kyogre beats Ho-Oh by quite a bit of attack in Master League, so but we wound up trying to find the win condition right there. Just needed the Togekiss to take down our Snorlax and use its energy. So if that Togekiss had potentially enough energy to get to 2 moves, if he had like 2 ancient powers, he could have still KO'd my Snorlax right there, and that would have been really bad because he could have brought an ancient power into that Ho-Oh matchup, and that could have been pretty detrimental for me. So, but anyways, yeah. So that's gonna do it for this 4-1 run with Snorlax, Shadow Ball, Mewtwo, and Ho-Oh. So very fun team to play. Had a blast doing it. I really wanted to try it out in the stream for Wednesday night, but again, I don't know how good that team would be with the 30-second switch timer, because your goal for the entire team comp is to lock in this Giratina Origin against your Snorlax, right? So it's not going to be as fun if they just can bank some energy and dip out. So that is going to do it for episode 3 of Exploring Master Classic, where today we took a look at Snorlax and Mewtwo going into battle with the best buddy Ho-Oh. I am not sure how the rest of the week is going to go with these 30-second switch timers, but tomorrow I will be playing Ho-Oh once again, trying to take advantage of that Brave Bird and those 30-second switch timers. It probably will look like the team from day 1, except I'll be replacing the Giratina Origin in that team comp with Giratina Altered. So that's going to be another team made by a different creator, Elodie Colo. So once again, if you like this content, please feel free to comment, like, or subscribe, share with your friends, and I will see you tomorrow.